Morning, guys. Today, for our top 10 rules for success, Warren Buffett shares with us his fifth rule for success, and that is this: have a margin of safety. So, I want to take this and apply it to our daily living. I truly believe that through the power of our minds, through our ability to control our minds, we are already in business. We are in daily business of living, and we do our business through the decisions we make. So, today, and each and every moment, I want you to think of this margin of safety. So what that means is, as you start to discover the power of your mind and start to really use it, you are going to want to do more and expand. Leave yourself a margin of safety, meaning there are going to be things that you want to do, great, but really use your thought processes and the power of your mind to stop and think, what will happen if I do this? And if I do this and it doesn't work out the way I want, am I going to be okay still? That will propel us to success. Have a great day, everybody.
Science that says there are two minds that are operating at the same time. One is called the conscious mind, and one is called the subconscious mind. I say, what's the difference? The conscious mind is where you are as a spirit, an entity, a unique identity. You are in that conscious mind and perceiving the world. I say, what about the subconscious mind? It's not a creative mind. The subconscious mind is habits, things that you've learned and you experienced in your life, and they become habits. So the subconscious mind is not thinking, creating. The subconscious mind, push the button, play the behavior. So here's the point. When we are in our conscious mind, we are connecting our spirituality to the biology and the physical planet that we're in. And that is the creative mind. That's the one you wake up in the morning and say, oh, I wish I had this, and I desire that, and these are the things I want. And then you go out and start the day, and then guess what? 95% of the day, you are not operating from the conscious mind. Science has recognized 95% of the day, because we are thinking 95% of the day, our behavior is now controlled by the subconscious mind. I go, okay, so what's the difference? And the final conclusion of this is the conscious mind with your creativity has your wishes and your desires. The subconscious mind was programmed by other people. Your mother, your father, your siblings, and your community. So what is the difference? You wake up with a wish and a desire of what you want, and then the rest of the day, you play the programs that you got from other people that don't answer your wishes and don't support your desires, and all you see is the consequence of it and go, oh my God, why is it not working? And the answer is because you don't see, because remember, the name is subconscious, below conscious. So when that behavior is playing, psychologists will tell us 70% or more of the programs in the subconscious are disempowering, self-sabotaging, and limiting behaviors. So the simple reality is this: we have great wishes and desires, and yet our life is not controlled by that. Our life is controlled by the programming, and that programming is the disempowering program. So all you see is the consequence of the invisible subconscious, which will sabotage all the desires and wishes you have. And then to conclude that, what if you just didn't default to the subconscious? What if you just stayed in the conscious mind? That's called being mindful. And why is it relevant? Because when you stay conscious, keep your mind present, you are the creator of your life. And when people are in mindfulness, they manifest their wishes, their desires, and their happiness. So for all of us, it's sort of a wake-up call. You think you're running your life with your wishes and desires? It's an illusion. You're really running your life with your programs acquired from other people.
80% of our inner dialogue is negative, and 95% of those thoughts are the same thoughts that we had yesterday. That's what Beth Handel taught me. She's Gary Vee's life coach. We had an awesome session together, and it really hit home. Imagine that 80% of the thoughts that you've got, 80% are negative. We are beating ourselves up. We are telling ourselves that we can't do things. It's not even our friends and family, the people around us telling us that we suck. It's us, it's ourselves. We tell ourselves we're not good enough, we can't do this, we're not strong enough, smart enough, we're from the wrong country, we look the wrong way, we're too young, we're too old, whatever it is. 80% of our thoughts are negative. And then 95% of those negative thoughts are the exact same negative thoughts that we had yesterday. It's no wonder why we stay small. It's no wonder why we stay stuck, because we've created this reinforcing loop of negativity. This is why I think the world's biggest problem is lack of belief. I'm on a mission every day, wake up, try to make content, try to spread the message to help people believe in themselves more. I think lack of belief is the single biggest problem in the world. And I also believe that everybody has Michael Jordan level genius at something. Like, you are the greatest. You're the greatest in the world at something. And it's not what you went to school for, and it's not what your parents did for a living, probably. It's something completely different. And you have to have the courage to go off and chase it and find it and do it, because the woman who solves cancer should have already solved it by now, but she never believed in herself enough to go to medical school. And now she's a manager in an accounting firm, and she doesn't like her life, right? I mean, this is where most of us are stuck. Most people wake up and they drive to a job that we don't like. Most people are stuck and barely hanging on and do not like their life and feel like they're not contributing, they're not making any kind of difference, they're not doing anything meaningful or impactful at all in the world. That's most people. Like, imagine waking up and that's your daily reality. That may be you. Or that may have been who you were, and you're still discovering and trying to improve and get better. But if 80% of those thoughts that come through your head, conscious or unconscious, are negative, I think a lot of conscious thoughts are negative too. Not just the subconscious, the conscious thoughts are negative. You telling yourself that you can't do something and you're not good enough. And then 95% are the same as yesterday, that we just created this loop, this negative thinking loop. So how do we break it? How do we break free? How do we solve that problem? Well, that's the billion-dollar question, and that's what I wake up every day trying to fix. And I can give you a couple things that I've worked on and I've found helpful and hopefully helps move the needle. They don't have all the answers, but some of these might help. The first one is to change your environment. The environment makes such a huge difference for who you are and your daily habits and what you believe about yourself. And the environment is not just the people who are around you, although that definitely helps. If you've got negative friends or family around you, you want to eliminate them completely or spend a lot less time with them, because it's really, really, really hard to have a beautiful plant grow when it's just toxic waste being poured on top of them. Doable, but really, really, really difficult. And so changing that can really help. And one of the best ways I found to do it is content. It's content. It's why I make so much content for these channels, that hopefully you wake up today and there's a piece of content there waiting for you, whether it's me or showcasing somebody else. Across all my channels, we're making multiple pieces of content every single day to try to hit it in the right way. Maybe today's message with the right voice is the one that makes a difference for you. And if you can shift the amount of entertainment you're doing, or just shutting off the world, some of the content that you consume just helps you shut off the world and escape, versus educational content that helps you learn, improve, get better, and solve the problem, right? Entertainment is let's forget about the problem and just laugh at something else. Education is let's learn to actually fix the problem that is happening in our life, right? I want to lean in on that a lot more. It doesn't mean that entertainment doesn't exist in your life. It's not only education, but if you can shift the needle towards education, to be around the people who inspire you, even if you've never met them, it can really move the needle for your inner dialogue and your self-confidence. So the thing that saved me in my first business in doing this was modeling Bill Gates from Microsoft. When I quit on my business partner, I struggled. I didn't know, I felt worthless. Nothing was working. I was working every day and just no results. And in looking at Bill Gates' story, that changed my life. It saved my business. It allowed me to keep going, because now I had a little bit of hope that, if Bill Gates could do it, maybe I could too. And the more you surround yourself with those people, the more you'll feel like you can do it too. So do an audit. How many people in your life, the actual humans that you know, and also just the people that you subscribe to, that you follow, how many of them make you feel better about yourself? And for too many people, it's not enough. Look at who you follow on YouTube. Look at who you subscribe to. Look at who you're connecting with on Instagram. You know, if you're loading your phone and you're going through Instagram or you're watching YouTube videos, how many times have you gone through it and all of a sudden an hour has gone by and you were mindlessly watching videos, or even worse, made you feel worse about yourself? You ever felt that? You watch a video and then you feel worse about yourself afterwards, or you're following somebody and it makes you feel worse about yourself? You have a choice to unfollow those people. This is not Instagram's fault or YouTube's fault. You can take accountability here. You have a choice to unfollow those people, and then a choice to follow the people who make you feel better about yourself. That's my aim with all these videos. I want to leave you with strategies, but also more belief in yourself at the end of every video. And if I do that, awesome. You want more belief in your life? Come back. You know, another shot of espresso tomorrow morning. We're here. And if I don't do that, cool. Thank you for giving it a shot. And don't quit on that. Go find somebody else who gives you the motivation, inspiration that you need. And so you can make a conscious choice, because it's so easy to stay stuck. It's so easy to stay small. It's so easy to be the one that pours into other people and not have anybody pour into us. And you need to make a conscious choice to raise your environment, to change your environment. And it doesn't mean you have to go move to a different country or move to a fancier house or anything else. You start by just changing who you associate with, even at a mass scale, right? I've learned a lot from Steve Jobs. I've been inspired by Oprah Winfrey. My favorite entrepreneur of all time is A.P. Giannini, who started Bank of America. These are people who I've never met, you know, and in the case of Jobs and Giannini, I never, you know, will meet because they've passed. But I've been inspired by them, and they've made me better, and they've taught me, and I've learned from them, and they've inspired me, and I get courage from them because I've consumed their content. And you can do that too. It's just being intentional about it, so that when you raise your environment, you raise your life. The second thing is try not to do it alone. It's really hard to go after a goal, to change your mindset, to accomplish big things when you're doing it all by yourself. You know, this is why a lot of people quit, because you might have one amazing day, or you watch the right video, or you have the right experience, and it's like, damn, I want it. This is the life I want. You ever had that, right? Like, this is the life that I want. This is who I want to be. This is where I could go. You have a glimpse of a potential future that you could be. It's like, I want that. And you actually feel in your heart that you can be that. You can accomplish that, right? Has that happened to you? And then what happens? The next day you wake up and it's kind of gone. And then the next day it's completely gone. And then you're back to your old life and the limiting beliefs and the habits. And you know, you gain back the 20 pounds and like, how did I end up back here? I thought I fixed this, right? Has that ever happened to you? A lot of it is because you're doing it alone. And this took me a long time to figure out. As an introverted person, as a shy person, as somebody who doesn't like asking for help, as someone who's afraid of disappointing people, being a part of a community it just sounds super scary to me. We just did our 7-day challenge for Built to Serve, and a bunch of people joined Movement Makers. We had almost 100 people join Movement Makers at the end of it. And it's people who want to be thought leaders and want to be speakers and authors and coaches and course creators and membership creators and all of this stuff. It's a big impact to spread your message. And I was giving people a lot of not just encouragement, but respect. Like the people who ended up joining, I just had incredible respect for, because I wouldn't have done it. If I go back to 19-year-old Evan, when I started my first business, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have had the courage to do it. I wouldn't have joined the group. We had people sharing their videos, like, tell us about your who, your why, your how. It's this methodology from the book, but make a video, you know, sharing your purpose and your biggest pain of all time, and some of these, you know, kind of deep things that you have to record and share. And I mean, it was optional. Not everybody did it, but in doing that, for a lot of people, it was their first video that they've ever done. For a lot of people, it was the first time they've even shared their story to anybody. They were sharing things in the group that they hadn't told their spouse, you know, or their family, or their best friend. And now they're making a video in their car sharing their story. and you see them become liberated. You see them start super scared and afraid and unsure and fixing their hair and, you know, apologizing for the lighting not being good and then being in the car and not knowing what they're doing, to then just seeing the transformation of somebody going through the cocoon, you know, being a caterpillar and turning into a butterfly and sharing their story for the first time. And I was in awe because I couldn't imagine me doing that at 19 when I started my first business. I was too afraid to join a community. I was too afraid of being judged. I was too afraid of being not good enough. And that kept me small. It kept my growth really slow. Fortunately, I kept going. You know, if you've seen my chart on my website where I show how much I've grown every year, over year, over year, over year, where I've been, took 5 years to get to 7,000 subscribers or something like that. And I just kept going. And the one thing that I've got was just tenacity and drive, and I will just keep going in the face of adversity. But I made it just incredibly hard on myself, being alone, not being open to sharing with my friends what I was struggling with, and never joining a community. So I think that can really help you. You know, I think trying to go and change your mindset and accomplish big things that nobody around you has done yet. And there are some days that you feel incredibly inspired and motivated and powerful. It's like, yeah, I can do this. But you're probably not living there most of the time. What if you did? Or what if you lived kind of close to that most of the time? And point number one of raising your environment can definitely help. But point number two is just don't try to do it alone. Even if it's one person. You don't have to join Movement Makers. You don't have to join a group. But even just one person who you can talk to, who you can connect with, who you can, you know, share your stories with, not just complain to, not talk about how hard everything is and just have somebody to vent to, but somebody who supports you. If you had a group of people who supported you, where you felt welcome, we felt like you weren't alone on this journey, we felt like people understood you, and were actually genuinely cheering you on to go, you know, become the person that you want to be, everything changes. So raise your environment, get a community, and watch your impact happen.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Good morning, guys. Yesterday we looked at the power of our minds. For us to get from the power of our mind to the wealth of our mind, we got to cross a bridge. And that bridge is the health of our mind. And for me, one of the most amazing things I've realized through some struggles, through some challenges, through some stresses and anxieties in life is that without the health of our mind, we'll never have a chance to even get to the wealth of our mind, which is the true freedom, happiness, and peace that we all are designed to have. So one of the things that has helped me, and I sincerely hope it helps you, and this is the essence of my mission in life, is that in order for us to have health of our minds and overcome anything that we're challenged with, we have to feed it with as much positive thought energy as possible. That goes with everything we think, say, and do. Have a great day, everybody.
How does the person become the person they are? And why do they keep their health condition the same? And well, Most people, your brain is a record of the past. It's an artifact of everything you've learned and experienced to this moment. So most people wake up in the morning. If you think that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, they start thinking about their problems. And those problems are just memories that are etched in their brain that are connected to certain people and objects and certain things at certain times and places. And the moment they start thinking about their problems, they're thinking in the past. Now, because every one of those problems has an emotion associated with them, the moment they start feeling unhappy or feeling sad, now their body's in the past, because thoughts are the language of the brain and feelings are the language of the body, and how we think and how we feel creates our state of being. Now, the problem is that the person thinks of the problem, feels the emotion, and that is a thought and a feeling. That's an image and an emotion. It's a stimulus and response. And that starts the conditioning process to get the body emotionally conditioned into the past. Now, here's the crazy part about that. The familiar past emotionally is producing dramatic effects on the body, because the body is so objective that it does not know the difference between the real life experience that's creating that emotion and the emotion that person is fabricating by thought or memory alone. The body's believing it's living in the same past experience 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And the problem with that is that the environment signals the gene. That's epigenetics. And the end product of an experience in the environment is an emotion. So the person is keeping the same gene regulated because the body's believing it's living in the same environmental conditions. So getting that person to step outside of that familiar known territory into the unknown, where there is uncertainty, and have them be comfortable there and begin to think about how they are going to think.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 video with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, feel gratitude.
The new model of reality is about causing an effect. That means then you have to feel gratitude every day for your new experience to occur. You can't wait for your success to feel empowered. You have to be empowered to create the success. And when you teach people how to do this, and they move into a new state of being, they begin to create the life that they want. How many people are still with me? But to the materialists, they would say, well, no, I'm going to wait for my money to come, and then I'm going to give thanks. And those people pretty much are living by the emotions of the past. And if you're living by the emotions of the past, you are viewing your future through the lens of the past, and your vision will fade. Because when you bring up an elevated emotion, you will see the vision clearly. And leaders in history that changed the world knew how to change a culture. Look at Martin Luther King. He talked about justice and then got enough people inspired that they felt empowered enough to do something about it. People came out of the resting state. And so then you share the same brain as Martin Luther King. And being defined by a vision of the future begins to change a culture. But most people have the same thoughts or the same intentions, and they live by the same familiar emotions, and for the most part, they're in their past.
Rule number 3, change your energy.
Love inspires us. It inspires us to give. It inspires us to express. It inspires us to serve, to care for one another, to be kind to one another, to listen with compassion and understanding. And love actually causes us to create. We become creative in that state. And you've heard me say that when there is a change in energy, there's a change in your life. And inspiration is a change in energy. And if you don't change your energy, if you stay in the same energy, then it makes sense that your life stays the same. So if you can become inspired and raise your energy, you become aware of things that you were once unaware of. Why? Because Energy causes us to become conscious of things we were once unconscious to. In other words, you change your frequency, you have more access to information. And that's the name of the game here. So if you stay at the same level of energy every single day, then you will be unaware of possibilities. So you'll not be able to create anything new. So you can't see any possibilities, again, from the same energy. In order for you to become inspired by love, inspired by energy, you'll become conscious of possibilities that you were once unconscious of. Now, energy or energy in motion, they are emotions. And so if we live by the same emotions every single day, and we haven't changed who we are, and there's a movement happening, or you're in the creative state, and you stay in the same feelings and the same familiar emotions, then you can't see any possibilities because you're looking through the lens of some past experience, and you can only see the same. So then, inspiration then, the word inspiration means the movement of energy. Inspiration, to inspire in spirit. It is becoming more energy and less matter.
Rule number 4, make a difference.
The future, then, is created by a clear intention and an elevated emotion. Now listen closely, that you have to cultivate in your inner environment of thoughts and feelings. But most people, by the old self, are living from past memories that are created from knowledge and experience from something that happened outside of them. Some experience or trauma that defined them. And getting a person beyond the old self, then, is the great work. That's what we're here for. So, we've studied motivation, and I can tell you, without a doubt, that the highest form of motivation in any culture, in any group of people, is what's called purpose motivation, duty motivation, or mission motivation. You know what that is? To have a vision to change a culture that's bigger than you, to instill change in the world. Look at Elon Musk. How many people know who he is? Elon Musk, he created Tesla Motors. You know him? You know who he is? He created an electric car that can go from 0 to 60 in less than 5 seconds. And before him, electric cars were like golf carts that crawled along the road. And he said, I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I have a vision. And I'm going to get the best engineers in the world. And instead of creating a new product and selling it to a corporation, I'm going to get a group of people to share the same vision as me. I'm going to change the world by changing our reliance on oil. And I am going to make a difference in the world, and I am going to make a lot of money. Why not? And so people said, no, that's not possible. And he held on to that vision. And now Motor Trend magazine never rated a car close to 100. They rated the Tesla car 103. It's the best car on the road. And it relies on no gas at all. That's a vision of the future.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, make different choices.
I got run over by a truck, and I broke 6 vertebrae in my spine, and I had to make a decision at that time in my life. because the diagnosis wasn't very good and neither was the prognosis. And I had to decide if I was going to spend the rest of my life on addictive medications and with surgical rods in my spine, or if I was going to see if the mind could actually heal the body. And so that was my wake-up call in 1986. And so I just... I was at the point where I just had to make a decision to see if it was actually the truth. If all of this that I learned was the truth, let's apply it. And so I was lucky enough to have a dramatic change in my own personal health. And then I thought, God, yeah, if it worked on me, has it worked on other people? So I started looking into people that had, been treating conventionally or non-conventionally and with a certain diagnosis, and their condition was staying the same, getting worse, and all of a sudden it got better. And I just wanted to look at what the cause was that was producing that effect. And so I interviewed, hundreds and hundreds of people that had gone through the process. And one of the most fundamental elements that they all had in common was there were a lot of things that had to do with their mind. And some people had specific diets and specific regimes. Some people used certain conventional and non-conventional protocols, but the commonality primarily was about how the mind was really influencing the body. And they began to really take a closer look at how they were thinking on a daily basis, how they were acting on a regular basis, and looking at how they feel on a moment-to-moment basis. And how you think and how you act and how you feel is your personality. And your personality has a very direct relationship with your personal reality, which means if you want to change your personal reality, if you want to change something about your life, you got to change. And so the process of change then becomes the fundamental process of going from some person that's familiar and known to you and stepping out and beginning to make different choices and to begin thinking differently and begin to behave differently and speak differently and feel differently. And if you start thinking, acting, and feeling differently, our research shows without a doubt, you're going to have dramatic changes in your biology. And if you do it enough times, you're going to become someone else. And the disease then all of a sudden exists in the old personality and not in the new personality. And you ask the person, where's the cancer? Where's the rheumatoid arthritis? Where's the immune-mediated condition? It's in the old person. I'm not that person any longer.
Rule number 6, have a clear intention.
If you have been if you had experience of trauma, say, for example, and it's created the feeling of fear, and your fear is that it could happen again. And you don't know this, but every time you think about that future, that possible worst case scenario, and you feel the emotion, you're conditioning your body to become the mind subconsciously of anxiety. So now, all you need now is some cue in your outer environment that says it's unsafe, that there's damage there, that you're a victim, something's bigger than you that could have an effect on you. Well, now that feeling of fear is going to cause you to think thoughts equal to it. So the person then no longer needs the environment to feel that fear. They just have to have the thought about that condition now. And now they're literally knocking their brain and body out of balance by thought alone. And the body's constantly living in emergency mode. And it takes a lot of energy, a lot of resources to live in emergency mode all the time. And guess what system becomes compromised by it?
Immune system.
Your immune system. Why? Because you have two protection systems. You got a system that protects you from dangers in your outer world. That's the gas pedal. That's the sympathetic nervous system. That's the fight or flight nervous system. Danger, threat out there. Use all the energy because you got to survive. And when you survive, you got to take care of your body. So So now that system can work really well short term. It doesn't work really well if you keep it on all the time. Because if you're mobilizing all that energy for some threat in your outer world, there's no energy in your inner world for growth and repair. There's no energy for long-term building projects. And energy leaves the brain and it leaves the heart and it moves into these lower centers because now you're tapping the body's resources because there is an emergency. But whether the emergency is real or imagined, whether your anger is valid or justified or not, that you're tapping the body's very energy to heal by doing this. And the immune system says, well, we're part of really the other nervous system. We're the brake. We're the clutch. We need to get into relaxation. We need to get back into balance again. And when we do, then we'll metabolize. Then we'll assimilate. We'll reproduce. We'll excrete properly. Mm-hmm. So
So now you got this kind of battle between the gas pedal and the brake, and the immune system says, hey, listen, if there's foreign agents, if there's viruses, bacteria, molds, funguses, listen, we don't have a whole lot of energy here to deal with them because we're fighting this war out there. There's no homeland security. So they shut down certain receptors in the immune system. They shut down function of those lymphocytes, those white blood cells that are your inner army of protection. And it takes a lot of energy to fight a virus and a bacteria. But if there's no energy, hey, listen, it takes energy to raise the body's temperature. Where do you think that comes from? That's part of that branch called the autonomic nervous system. And the sympathetic, the gas pedal, is part of it. And the parasympathetic is the clutch, is part of that autonomic nervous system. And it's a check and balance.
Let's talk about the neuroscience of culture, because there is a neuroscience to it. You have a brain that looks just like the person sitting next to you. And if I was to screw off the top of your heads and take out your brain and your partner's brain, someone sitting next to you, and I went like this, and I set them out, you probably wouldn't be able to tell them apart, because you share the same structure in your brain. And we call that universal traits, and we call it gross anatomy. Now, because you share the same brain as the person sitting next to you, you smile when you're happy, you frown when you're sad, you sleep at night, well, this is Mexico, you sleep kind of late at night and get up kind of late in the morning. Come on, I'm kidding. And, you know, you grab a stick the same way, we speak a language, and because we share the same gross anatomy of the brain, we have very universal traits that we have in common. How many people are with me? But now, how your brain is wired is your individuality. And that's the minute architecture or the minute structure of the brain. So then, your brain is wired different than the person next to you because you have different experiences. But if you share the same experiences because you're in a relationship, then you have similar brains that are kind of relating. And relationships are built on common experiences. If we share the same experiences, we share the same emotions. And if we share the same emotions, we can relate with each other. So then, think about it like this. You have a hand. And because you have a hand, you have the same hand as the person next to you. There's only a certain amount of things you can do with your hand. But now, what makes you unique is your fingerprint. That gives you your individuality. And that is really the minute anatomy of something related to a hand. Are you with me? So now, what is the division that unifies both the universal traits and our individual traits? And the answer is culture. Culture. And culture is defined by the environment in which you live, the environment in which you work, the environment of your family. An environment is made up of just a few things. Are you ready? People, objects, things, places, time, pets, and that's pretty much your environment. So the culture of Mexico City is defined by the environment. You eat certain foods, you like certain music, you relate with one another because of the environment in which you live in. And that culture is created from the environment, which is different than the culture of Mongolia, because it's a different environment and they have different traditions, they have different customs, because they've had to survive in a different environment. And so what unifies individual traits and universal traits is called culture. Now think about this. Most cultures are defined by the customs they have, the traditions, the language, their survival skills, their habits, their attitudes, their beliefs, their history, their arts, their social structures that have unified them as an individual culture. Are you still with me? So the people you work with, the people you relate with, the people you interact with, you share a similar culture that bonds you both as an individual and as a species called human beings. And Mexicans are different than Australians because they live in a different environment and they have different traditions. You still with me? But we could say then that culture typically is defined by things that have worked in the past. So then, most cultures then have a choice. To create a new culture means then you have to define your culture as a vision of the future. But most people, their cultures are based on the past, present reality. What does that mean? We are in a changing world. And the world is changing faster than most people can keep up. And if you are going to stay defined by a memory of the past, you will not keep up with this culture, because we are creating a global culture. So then, what defines the vision of the future to change a culture? And the answer is a very clear intention, a clear purpose combined with an elevated emotion. And when you combine a clear intention, like a vision of the future, along with an elevated emotion of inspiration and joy, you will create an empowered individual.
Rule number 7, create what you want.
What's something that you've said in the past that you were confident about it then, but now upon reflection, you're like, oh, actually, I've changed my mind about that?
Oh, that it takes a long time to create reality.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to expand on that because I like that answer. I want to know more. That's fascinating.
Well, I think just like anything else, you learn how to snowboard, you go through that learning curve. You learn how to ride a bike, you go through that learning curve. That I used to think that creation was hard. I just thought it took a lot of energy and it took a lot of sacrifice and you had to work for it. And,
great answer.
And God, I mean, even my definition of surrender today is very different than it was just 3 months ago, because I'm always doing it. And so I think that it doesn't have to be that way. I just think that it could be any way you want, and I'm working on that, changing that belief.
Rule number 8, be a self-starter.
Personal conviction motivation. We call these people self-starters. This is entrepreneurial motivation. This is when you say, I'm going to do this because I said I was going to do it. Still a high form of motivation, but not the highest form. But what we know, that people who have purpose motivation naturally are personally convicted. Their personal conviction is in alignment with their purpose because they have a reason to get up every day.
Rule number 9, initiate learning.
If someone is so disconnected to their future, their greater future self, if they're so negative thoughts, suicidal thoughts, often hurting themselves potentially, often, what can they start to do to just give some a little bit of relief and peace in their heart?
Yeah, it's simple. Knowledge, experience, wisdom. Philosophy, initiate that philosophy, master it.
Yep.
Mind, body, soul, thinking, doing, being, learning it with your head, applying it with your hands, knowing it by heart. And this is the journey of knowledge, because when you learn that information and you really study it, you are going to begin to see the world differently because your brain is changing. Then when you start saying, how can I use this? How can I apply it? How can I personalize it? How could I do something, initiate this information? What do I got to do? How do I get my behaviors to match my intentions? Now, this is the act of trial and error. It's so important. You don't make it the first time. You don't give up. You get up and you try to walk again. And you start learning how to do this. And so as you begin to do it over and over again, you start having new experiences.
Yes.
Well, new experiences enrich the circuits in your brain philosophically. And now the brain makes a chemical. And now you're feeling more unlimited. You're feeling more whole. You're teaching your body chemically to understand what your mind intellectually understood. And now you are literally starting to embody that knowledge.
Yeah.
It's becoming, it's signaling new Jesus, it's new information, but you can't do it one day and expect your wealth to come. You got to do it over and over again.
Yes.
So the repetition of practicing over and over again neurochemically conditions the mind and body to begin to work as one. You've done it so many times, the body now knows how to do it subconsciously.
Just like it knew how to subconsciously lean into trauma and victim mode
Right.
for decades.
Now the body's getting new information. It's going to adapt. And now you're going to literally become that knowledge. You're going to become it. That's what you're going to become. And so now that's when you no longer have to try. It's who you are. Yeah, you've memorized an internal order that's greater than anything in your outer world that's going to tell you something else. That's key right there.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is push yourself.
I was looking closely, and there are people that do this work, do this transformation work in the meditations that we teach, and they're so impatient and they're so entitled, and they want an instantaneous change from the lack and pain they're feeling, right? That they never overcome themselves in their meditation. They never overcome themselves in the meditation, and when they finish their meditation, they believe in this work less. Then there are people who say, I can tell you the moment I made up my mind to change, because I had reached the end and I made a decision. And that decision to change carried an amplitude of energy that was greater than the hardwired programs in my brain and the emotional conditioning in my body. And my body literally responded to my mind in that moment, that the choice that I made became a moment in time I would never forget. And they'll tell you, and that's the moment I remembered when I was going to change. Now, those people then, when they sit down to do the work, the chemotherapy hasn't worked, the injections didn't work, the radiation didn't work, the surgery didn't work, the diet didn't work, the yoga didn't work. This is now their end. They have nothing else to believe in but themselves. And they go all in, not 50%, not 60%. They're going all in. They have nothing else to believe in. Now listen, when they go a little bit outside the known, they went a little further than where they normally would stop. They pushed themselves to that next limit. They started believing in themselves that they could do it a little bit more. They finish the meditation and they get up and believing it's working more than working less. They're the person that's believing in themselves. That's why, because it's not the work. It's your belief in yourself, right? And then when you believe in yourself, you believe in possibilities. When you believe in possibilities, you got to believe in yourself.
Good morning, guys. Today, Warren Buffett shares with us an amazing piece of advice. It's helped me so much. I hope it helps you. And that is his rule number 7, which is schedule for your personality. That it requires you to know what your personality is. And we all should know that, but some of us may not tend to fully acknowledge it and actually work with it. So for me, for example, I know that I love to read. I love physical activity. I love moving around. I love helping others, but I also love working on my mind and making sure that I'm set up for as much success with other people as possible by kind of fitting in with my personality. And it feels great. So I schedule my day as much as possible around my personality. So think about your personality. If you're the kind of person that is more outgoing, more seeking social interaction, and you feel that helps you, then you go with that. If you're more shy, introverted like me, you work with activities that will help you there. Have a great day, everybody.
You have to pay attention to your life because it is speaking to you all the time. And the bumps in the road and the failures that pointed me in a new direction and led me to a path made clear. That is what I'm wishing for you today, your own path made clear. And I know that there is a lot of anxiety, a lot about what the future holds and how much money you're going to make. But your anxiety does not contribute one iota to your progress, I'm here to tell you. It does the opposite. Look at how many times you worried and you were upset and you didn't think you were going to make it through the block. I got that text a couple months ago. And here you are today. You made it. And I'm here to tell you that you're going to be more than okay. So take a deep breath with me right now and repeat this. Everything is always working out for me. I want to hear it. everything is always working out for me. That's my mantra. Make it yours. Everything is always working out for me, because it is, and it has, and it will continue to be as you forge and discover your own path.
Need motivation?
Watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Oprah Winfrey, and my take on her top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, let excellence be your brand.
Always do the right thing. Always. Be excellent. People notice. Think of how you notice. You go to Taco Bell, somebody gives you an extra napkin and some sauce. You notice. You want to go back to that person, because even at Taco Bell, excellence shows itself. Be excellent. Let excellence be your brand. Everybody talks about building a brand. I never even knew what that was. When people say, you're a brand, I would say, no, I'm just Oprah. What I recognize now is that my choice to, in every way, in every example, in every experience, to do the right thing and the excellent thing is what has created the brand. Years ago, I did an ad for Revlon for an ad they were doing called Unforgettable Women. And what I know is that when you are excellent, you become unforgettable. People remember you, you stand out. Regardless of what it is, you become an unforgettable woman. And that is what we all want. We want to be unforgettable and not forgettable. So doing the right thing, even when nobody knows you're doing the right thing, will always bring the right thing to you. I promise you that. Why? Because the third law of motion is always at work. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That is so true in all of our lives. That's what Newton said. Celia in The Color Purple said it. Everything you even try to do to me, already done to you. Everything you even try to do to me, already done to you. So you don't have to worry about revenge or getting back at somebody, making sure they pay. You just have to do the right thing, and the right thing will follow you even when people don't support it.
Rule number 3, serve the world.
You say to life, you ask this question. Everybody who is still exploring where to go next. You ask the question, how can I be used? Life, use me. Use me. Show me through my talents and my gifts. Show me through what I know, what I need to know, what I have yet to learn, how to be used in the greater service to life. You ask that question, and I guarantee you, Smithies, the answer will be returned and rewarded to you with fulfillment, which is really the major definition of success for me. If you ask the question, how can I be used? And then get still enough for the answer. Because what I've discovered in all of my years of conversations and interviews with people, anytime you have to go and ask everybody else what is the answer to a question, it means you haven't gotten still enough yourself to quiet out the noise of the world, to listen to your inner GPS, your inner guidance that always knows, that knows right now what is the best next right thing for you to do. It's your calling to serve because you are a woman of the world. And whatever your chosen field, I know this, that when you shift the paradigm to how can I be used? How can I use my art, my painting, my music, my medical skills? How can I use my listening, my caring in service to that which is greater than myself? You shift the paradigm to service and the reward comes.
Rule number 4, take small steps daily.
I'm here to tell you that you actually do get to transform the world every day by your actions. Small steps lead to big accomplishments. And I'm here to tell you that your life isn't some big break like everybody thinks it is. They're waiting on the big break. It's actually about taking one significant life transforming step at a time. So you can pick a problem, literally any problem. The list is long because there's gun violence and economic inequality, and there's media bias, and the homeless need opportunity, and the addicted need treatment, and the dreamers need protection. The prison system needs to be reformed. The social safety net needs saving. Misogyny needs to stop. And the truth is, you cannot fix everything. But what you can do here and now is make a decision, because life is about decisions. And the decision is that you will use your life in service. You will be in service to life, and you will speak up, you will show up, you will stand up, you will sit in, you will volunteer, you will vote, you will shout out, you will help, you will lend a hand, you will offer your talent and your kindness however you can, and you will radically transform whatever moment you're in, which leads to bigger moments.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, be still and listen.
I wish I could tell you I know the path forward. I don't. There is so much uncertainty. In truth, there always has been. What I do know is that the same guts and imagination that got you to this moment, all those things are the very things that are going to sustain you through whatever is coming. It's vital that you learn, and we all learn, to be at peace with the discomfort of stepping into the unknown. It's really okay to not have all the answers. The answers will come for sure if you can accept not knowing long enough to get still and stay still long enough for new thoughts to take root in your more quiet, deeper, truer self. The noise of the world drowns out the sound of you. You have to get still to listen. So can you use this disorder that COVID-19 has wrought? Can you treat it as an uninvited guest that's come into our midst to reorder our way of being? Can you, the class of 2020, show us not how to put the pieces back together again, but how to create a new and more evolved normal, a world more just, kind, beautiful, tender, luminous, creative, whole? We need you to do this, because the pandemic has illuminated the vast systemic inequities that have defined life for too many for too long. For poor communities without adequate access to health care, inequality is a pre-existing condition. For immigrant communities forced to hide in the shadows, inequality is a pre-existing condition. For incarcerated people with no ability to social distance, inequality is a pre-existing condition. For every person burdened by bias and bigotry, for every black man and woman living in their American skin, fearful to even go for a jog, inequality is a pre-existing condition. You have the power to stand for, to fight for, and vote for healthier conditions that will create a healthier society. This moment is your invitation to use your education to begin to heal our afflictions by applying the best of what you've learned in your head and felt in your heart.
Rule number 6, make sure you are heard.
Every person just wants to know they were heard. Every argument you have with your friends is not about whatever it is you're arguing about. It's ultimately about, do you hear me? And many of you have even said, when you don't feel you're being heard, can you just hear me? Can you hear me? Can you see me? And could you understand that what I'm saying to you actually matters? And I have found that no matter what the conversation or the confrontation or the experience, if you can mirror back to that person, yes, I hear you, and this is what you're saying. Whether you choose to do it or not, just being heard makes all the difference. Being validated, because everybody wants to be heard.
Rule number 7, just be yourself.
Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul, another one of my thought leaders that I admire, says, the greatest wound we've all experienced is somehow being rejected for being our authentic self. And as a result of that, we then try to be what we're not to get approval, love, protection, safety, money, whatever that is. And the real need for all of us really is to reconnect with the essence of who we really are, re-own all the disowned parts of ourselves, whether it's our emotions, our spirituality, whatever. We all go around hiding parts of ourselves. He says he was with a Buddhist teacher a number of years ago, and that teacher said, here's the secret. If you were to meditate for 20 years, this is where you'd finally get to. Just be yourself, but be all of you. So I've made a living, not a living, but a real life from being true to myself, using the energy of my personality to actually serve the purpose of my soul. And that purpose, I'm here to tell you, gets revealed to you daily. It is not just one thing. It is the thread that is connecting the dots of everything that you do. So when I first started television at 19, as I said, I was just happy to have a job. But later, through experience, trial, error, some failures, recognized that my true purpose was to be an inspiration and a force for good, to allow people to see the best of themselves through the work and the stories that we were able to tell. And so that becomes my legacy.
Rule number 8, discover your purpose.
If humanity is a global body, every soul is a cell in that body. And we are being challenged as never before to keep the global body healthy by keeping ourselves healthy in mind, in body and spirit. As all the traditions affirm, the deepest self-care is at once caring for the human family. And we see this so clearly with essential workers. Look who turns out to be essential. Teachers, your teachers, healthcare workers, of course, the people stocking grocery shelves, the cashiers, the truck drivers, food providers, those who are caring for your grandparents, those who clean the places where we work and shop and carry out our daily lives. We are all here because they, at great and profound risk, are still providing their essential service. What will your essential service be? What really matters to you? The fact that you're alive means you've been given a reprieve to think deeply about that question. How will you use what matters in service to yourself, your community, and the world? For me, it's always been talking and sharing stories. For you, well, that's for you to discover. And my hope is that you will harness your education, your creativity, and your valor, your voice, your vote, reflecting on all that you've witnessed and hungered for, all that you know to be true, and use it to create more equity, more justice, and more joy in the world.
Rule number 9, know who you are.
Knowing who you are. Knowing who you are. Being able to answer this question, who am I and what do I want? You know, many times when I go out of the country, I am baffled by that question. To explain what is your occupation. I've stood there for 10 minutes. Well, am I a talk show host? Well, I'm more than a talk show host. Am I a businesswoman? I'm a businesswoman. I'm more than a businesswoman. Am I an entrepreneur? I'm more than an entrepreneur. So I just leave it blank or self-employed. So I'm not asking for the roles that you play as daughters. I'm not asking that question. What are the roles that you play as a daughter, as a friend, as a sister? You're going to be a lawyer, you're going to teach, you're going to be a pharmacist. I'm asking the bigger question of who am I? Who am I really? My answer is I am God's child. I am that which is born of all that is. I am, as Pierre de Chardin said, a spiritual being having a human experience. Come trailing the breath of the ancestors yet, but trailing the breath of the angels. And understanding that because I am connected to the source of all that is possible for me. That's who I am. And what do I want? I don't want to just be successful in the world. I don't want to just make a mark or have a legacy. The answer to that question for me is I want to fulfill the highest, truest expression of myself as a human being. I want to fulfill the promise that the Creator dreamed when He dreamed the cells that made up me. What do I want? You must have some kind of vision for your life. Even if you don't know the plan, you have to have a direction in which you choose to go. I never was the kind of woman who liked to get in a car and just go for a ride. I had a boyfriend who would say, let's just go for a ride. I want to know, where are we going? Do we have a destination? Is there a plan, or are we just riding? What I've learned is that's a great metaphor for life. You want to be in the driver's seat of your own life, because if you're not, life will drive you. So, knowing who you really are in this space and time that we embody.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is speak the truth.
What I learned going to a beauty salon and asking them after the news director had told me that my hair was too thick and my eyes were too far apart and I needed a makeover. And sitting in a beauty salon, in a French beauty salon, allowing them to put a French perm on my black hair and having the perm burn through my cerebral cortex. And not being the woman that I am now, so not having the courage to say, this is burning me. And coming out a week later bald and having to go on the air. You learn a lot about yourself when you're black and a woman and bald and trying to be an anchor woman. You learn you're not Diana Ross, and that you're not Barbara Walters, trying to be. I was at the time. I had a lot of lessons. I remember going on the air many times and not reading my copy ahead of time. And I was on the air one night and ran across the word B-A-R-B-A-D-O-S. That may be Barbados to you, but it was Barbados to me that night. And telling the story as an anchor woman about a vote in Absentia, California. I thought it was located near San Francisco. And one of the worst, this is when I broke out of my Barbara shell, because I'm sitting there crossing my legs, trying to talk like Barbara, be like Barbara. And I was reading a story about someone with a blaze attitude, which if I had gone to Wellesley, I would have known it was blasé. And I started to laugh at myself on the air and broke through my Barbara shell, and had decided on that day that laughing was okay, even though Barbara hadn't at that time. And it was through my series of mistakes that I learned that I could be a better Oprah than I could be a better Barbara. And I allowed Barbara to be the mentor for me, as she always has been. And I decided then to try to pursue the idea of being myself. And I am just thrilled that I get paid so much every day for just being myself. But it was a lesson long in coming, recognizing that I had the instinct, that the inner voice that told me that you need to try to find a way to answer to your own truth was the voice I needed to be still and listen to. Get this, remember this, because this will happen many times in your life. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time, not the 29th time. That's particularly good when it comes to men's situations, because when he doesn't call back the first time, when you're mistreated the first time, when you see someone who shows you a lack of integrity or dishonesty the first time, know that that will be followed by many, many, many other times that will, at some point in life, come back to haunt or hurt you. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Live your life from a point of view of truth, and you will live your life from truth, and you will survive everything. Everything. I believe even death. You will survive everything if you can live your life from a point of view of truth.